Hi, welcome to my guest room. I'm Jared Logan, and this is GM Toolbox from the Stream of Blood. In this series, we talk about tabletop role-playing games like Dungeons & Dragons and Call of Cthulhu. Specifically, we talk about how you can move rules from one tabletop role-playing game to another tabletop role-playing game, because it turns out that a lot of rules are just actually great game mastering advice. Speaking of great advice, our friend on Discord, Greggles, recently posted this comment after he read a post from our friend Fancy, who described what a great time they'd had playing their first session of Vampire with their friends. Greggles said, "That's amazing, Fancy. You know, as much as we pontificate about what makes a good game, it's easy to overlook the X factor of having a great group." I found this to be so true, I felt the need to make an entire video about it. It is absolutely true that we can talk until we are blue in the face about game mastering tips, but it ultimately comes down to the players. Ask yourself, do you have a good group? When I look at forums where they talk about game mastering advice, I see the same questions asked almost 90% of the time. Usually the questions are about the group. There are questions like, I have a player who is a problem. He's a rules lawyer or a creep. How can I change him? My group doesn't like to play in the way that I like to play. How can I make them play the way that I want? I want to play game X, but my group wants to play game Y. How can I make them play game X? I have an answer to all three of those questions. You can't. The questions you are asking, if you're asking those questions, are kind of the wrong questions. I mean, they at least don't belong in the realm of game mastering tips. There are no game rules that can help you, negotiate with your friends or change people's minds or, have them go to therapy. But if you have a great group, well, then you can kind of get around having to ask any of those questions at all. So how do you get a great group of players? Well, I humbly present two strategies. The first one is play with your friends. Friends are people who care about you. They're people who like you, who want to see you succeed and like spending time with you. Friends are not necessarily people who happen to share your same interests. Clinton Trucks, my secret game master, and I have talked about this. When we were younger men, we often thought that we needed to be friends with people who shared our exact same hobbies and interests. In other words, we worried more about what people liked than what they were like. Stop doing this. Don't play with someone just because they happen to have also memorized the entire Starfinder core rulebook like you have. Don't play with someone just because they hang out in the same very specific Call of Cthulhu forum that you frequent. Your interests are not who you are. Strive to see people for who they are, not what they're into. This really all boils down to play with people you'd want to hang out with, even if you weren't gaming.
You want to hang out sometime, get to know each other?
That means sometimes you'll have to sell those people on gaming with you. My wife, Kara Clank, is not really into tabletop role-playing games. She likes true crime, The Real Housewives, and getting a great deal on an Airbnb. And yet, she has played with me in dozens of games, and she's been fantastic in those games as a role player. Why? Because she likes joking around with me and spending time with me.
It's tradition to take care of the Domovoy.
So wait, Domovoy is like a little house elf or something?
Yeah, and
Yes, it's house elf. Yes.
That's why you're gaming in the first place, to joke around with your friends, to spend time with them. That's why you're doing this. Go to your friends, people who care about you, the ones who don't do any gaming, and say, you know what, this is something I really enjoy. I'd love to share it with you. Guess what? They'll say yes. And now I know the second question you're going to ask. I've already anticipated it. Now you're going to go, but Jared, what if I have to game with strangers? What if I have no friends? It happens. It's happened to me at certain times in my life. What if my only choice is to go with the group that I have? How can I make them into a good group? What you're really asking is, how do I turn strangers into friends? And again, I'm not a life coach or a licensed psychiatrist, so it's a little bit outside of my area of expertise, but I do have one suggestion. The way that you make strangers into friends is by taking care of them. In the context of game mastering, this means that when you run a game, always remember that you are there for the players. They're not necessarily there for you. Say yes to their suggestions, even if they seem kind of silly to you. Make them feel comfortable. Try to entertain them, and failing that, at least make sure that they feel listened to and engaged with. Every time you're prepping your tabletop role-playing game, ask yourself, is this something my group would enjoy doing? Would my players, aka Karen, Mike, Steve, and Thursday, want to do the things that I am prepping in this game, or are these things that only I want to do? If you're not sure, ask them. Say, hey, would you guys want to do this in the next game? They'll tell you what they think. They'll tell you what they expect and what they want to do. If you care for people in this way, even if they're not close, even if they're just some guy you met on a forum, chances are they will start to care for you. It seems obvious, but it's actually easy to forget. You are a human. Your players are humans. All of us have a human need for companionship, a need to feel heard. When you are running a tabletop role-playing game, you're really throwing a party for your players. So you have to be a good host. Make them feel like mi casa, su casa. Come in, kick your shoes off, and let's get fucking drunk, you guys, because I like you and I want to spend time with you. And the game, the character sheets, the dice, the setting, you're here priority-wise, my friends and fellow players, and that stuff is down here. And if you are looking for community, I can recommend one place that you can come and make some friends, the Server of Blood on Discord. Stream of Blood has its own Discord called the Server of Blood, and it's a community of people like you who are really nice and would like to meet some new friends. If you like what you saw here, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We stream about 3 times a week on Twitch, sometimes more, if you'd like to see some of these tips in practice. And if you have your own tips, or you've used some of our tips and you want to let us know how it went, please tell us about it in the comments below. Until next time, my name's Jared Logan. This is GM Toolbox from the Stream of Blood. Happy gaming, you son of a bitch.